There are moments in life when you look at the road ahead and realize you do not know where you are going. You wake up with plans, with goals, with dreams, but something inside you whispers, there must be more than this. You see, human wisdom can only take you so far. The mind can strategize, but it cannot see the unseen. The heart can desire, but it cannot discern the hidden path. That is why you must allow God to lead you every single day of your life. Because when God leads you, even the wilderness becomes a way. When God leads you, even the impossible bends to His command. When God leads you, confusion turns into clarity, weakness turns into strength, and fear turns into faith. Too many people live as though they are their own guide. They wake up and chase what they want. They fight for what they think they deserve. They plan without asking. They move without listening. And they end up wondering why peace never comes. But a person who allows God to lead them does not live in confusion. They may walk through storms, but they walk with direction. They may be surrounded by noise, but they move in silence. Because they know that God's leadership is not about speed, it's about purpose. It's not about what looks right, it's about what is right. When God leads you, He will sometimes take you through valleys not to punish you, but to prepare you. He will close doors not to limit you, but to protect you. He will delay certain things not to deny you, but to develop you. When you allow God to lead you, you stop fighting the process and start trusting the purpose. Every day is a new battlefield. The mind is pulled in many directions. The world shouts its opinions. People project their expectations, and anxiety creeps into the soul. But there is one thing that will always silence the chaos. When you surrender your steps to God, because God does not need your strength, He needs your submission. He does not require your control, He desires your trust. When you wake up and say, God, I do not know what this day holds, but I know you hold it, that is when the supernatural begins to flow. That is when doors open that no man can shut. That is when peace enters that no storm can destroy. The problem is not that God is silent. The problem is that we are too loud. We are too busy talking, too busy worrying, too busy planning, too busy trying to fix what only God can fix. But if you would just pause, if you would just be still and allow Him to lead, you would realize that His direction is always better than your decision. Allowing God to lead you is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is not passivity, it is power. Because you are acknowledging that you do not see the full picture, but He does. You are saying, I may not understand why this happened, but I trust the one who knows why. You are declaring, even when I can't trace the pattern, I can trust the plan. This is not blind faith, it is sacred faith. It is the kind of faith that moves mountains, calms storms, and builds nations. It is the kind of faith that does not crumble when life shakes you, because it stands on something unshakable. God's leading. When you allow God to lead, your steps will confuse those who don't understand your spiritual rhythm. They will wonder why you're calm when others are panicking. They will wonder why you're silent when others are shouting. They will wonder why you walk away from opportunities that seem perfect. But what they do not see is that You are being led by a divine compass. They do not understand that your timing is not determined by the world's clock. It is aligned. It is aligned with God's season. And when God leads you, you begin to value obedience over opportunity. You stop chasing everything that shines and start waiting for what's divine. Because not everything that looks good is sent by God. Sometimes the enemy decorates distractions to look like blessings. But when you allow God to lead, you will see through the disguise. You will discern what others cannot detect. You will walk with an inner knowing that cannot be taught. It can only be received from above. To allow God to lead you every day means to begin each morning in surrender, not in strategy. It means before you move, you pause. Before you decide, you pray. Before you speak, you listen. Because when you put God first, everything else falls into divine order. You will notice that even the smallest choices begin to align with purpose. You will sense His whisper saying, "Go here." You will feel His nudge saying, "Not now." You will experience moments where everything inside you says yes, but God says, "Wait." And you will learn that waiting on God is never wasted time. It is preparation time. He leads you not only by direction, but by delay. He leads you not only by open doors, but by closed ones. He leads you not only by clarity, but sometimes by silence. Because sometimes God's silence is not absence. It is instruction. It is His way of training your ear to trust His timing. Many people pray for God's blessings, but reject His leading. They want His promises without His process. They want His rewards without His requirements. But when you allow God to lead you, you accept that His way is higher than yours. You stop asking why and start saying thank you. Because even when it hurts, it helps. Even when it confuses, it completes. Even when it delays, it delivers. God does not lead you to break you. He leads you to build you. He does not lead you to frustrate you. He leads you to free you. Sometimes His path will take you through uncomfortable places to stretch your faith. Sometimes He will remove people you love to make room for what you need. Sometimes He will strip away what you thought you couldn't live without, to show you that all you ever needed was Him. Allowing God to lead means allowing Him to redefine your comfort zone. When you let God lead, your vision changes. You stop seeing obstacles as threats and start seeing them as tests. You stop viewing delays as denials and start recognizing them as divine timing. You stop fighting against the current and start flowing with His will. You understand that not everything that happens is meant to destroy you. Some things are designed to develop you. You may not see it in the moment, but every step, every detour, every disappointment carries a lesson that is shaping your destiny. God's leadership is never random. He does not make mistakes. If He took you there, it's because there is something for you to learn there. If He allowed it, it's because He intends to use it. So don't resist His leading, reverence it. To be led by God is to walk by faith, not by sight. Sight will deceive you, faith will direct you. Sight will tell you the path is blocked. Faith will tell you God can make a way. Sight will focus on what you lost. Faith will see what's coming. Sight looks at the visible. Faith trusts in the invisible. That is why you must allow God to lead every part of your day. Not just the big moments, but the small ones too. Because sometimes the smallest decisions carry the greatest consequences. Sometimes one wrong conversation, one emotional reaction, one impatient move can alter your path. But if you let God lead even in the small moments, how you respond, how you speak, how you think, you begin to walk with divine discipline. You begin to carry a quiet strength that cannot be shaken by circumstances. The world will tell you to trust yourself, but self-trust without divine guidance leads to self-destruction. You are not meant to be your own God. You are meant to be guided by God. When you lean on your own understanding, you will make decisions out of fear, pride, or impatience. But when you lean on divine direction, you will make decisions out of wisdom, peace, and clarity. Let God lead you through the unknown. Do not demand to see the whole map. Just follow the next step. Because faith does not reveal the entire journey. It only illuminates the next move. God reveals just enough to keep you dependent, just enough to keep you humble, and just enough to keep you trusting. That is how He trains your spirit to walk by faith and not by sight. When you let God lead, you stop competing with others and start cooperating with purpose. You stop comparing your timeline with theirs. You stop worrying about who is ahead or behind, because you know you are exactly where you are meant to be. You understand that divine timing cannot be rushed or delayed. What is meant for you will find you when you are ready, not when you are restless. Allowing God to lead means trusting His calendar more than your clock. It means saying, even if it hasn't happened yet, it will happen when it's supposed to. Because when you follow divine timing, you are never late. You are perfectly aligned. There are days when you will feel lost, when you will not hear a clear answer, when everything around you seems uncertain. But that is when you must trust God the most. That is when you must remember that His silence is not abandonment, it is direction in disguise. Sometimes He hides Himself not to punish you, but to purify you. He allows silence so that you will learn to listen to the stillness within. Because true guidance is not always loud. It's often quiet. It's not always in the thunder. Sometimes it's in the whisper. When you are sensitive to the voice of God, even the smallest sign becomes a message. Even the simplest moment becomes divine. To allow God to lead you every day means to stop forcing what's not flowing. Stop chasing what keeps running. Stop trying to revive what God is trying to remove. When He leads, He will not always tell you why. He will simply tell you to go. And that's where your faith must rise. Because obedience without understanding is the highest form of trust. It's easy to follow when everything makes sense, but real faith begins when logic ends. Real faith is saying, I don't know how this will work out, but I know God is leading me. And when you move with that kind of faith, doors open that you never even knocked on. People appear that you never even searched for. Opportunities align that you never even imagined. Because God leads those who trust Him more than they trust their own reasoning. When you truly allow God to lead you every day, something remarkable begins to happen inside you. The noise of the world grows faint, and the voice of God grows louder. The pull of fear weakens, and the strength of faith rises. You stop reacting to life, and you start responding to divine instruction. You begin to notice that the things that used to shake you no longer have the same power. You begin to walk through storms without panic because you know who is guiding your steps. When God is leading you, even the unpredictable becomes purposeful. Even what you did not plan becomes part of a greater plan. You no longer question every setback because you know that behind every obstacle lies a hidden lesson. You no longer fear change because you know that God's direction often comes through redirection. Letting God lead every day is not just a decision, it is a discipline. It requires daily surrender. It requires the humility to say, I do not know what is best for me, but God does. It requires the maturity to admit that your plans are not always perfect, but God's will is flawless. You see, the human heart often believes it knows what it needs. But there is a difference between what you want and what will sustain you. There is a difference between what looks good and what leads to peace. And only God can reveal that difference. When you follow your own understanding, you may reach what you desire, but lose what truly matters. But when you allow God to lead, you may not always get what you expect, but you will always receive what your soul truly needs. The challenge is that human nature resists surrender. We like control. We like certainty. We like to plan the outcome before we take the first step. But the path of divine guidance is not a straight road. It is a sacred walk of faith. God will not show you every detail because He wants you to learn trust, not just knowledge. He will not give you the full picture because He wants you to depend on His voice every single day. If He showed you everything at once, you would stop seeking Him. So He reveals His will in fragments, in whispers, in seasons, just enough to keep you near Him. Every morning, you must return to that posture of surrender and say, lead me again, God. Direct me again today. Because guidance is not a one-time event. It is a continual relationship. And when you live in that daily relationship with divine guidance, peace becomes your companion. You no longer chase it. It follows you. Because peace is not found in knowing every answer. Peace is found in knowing who holds every answer. When God leads, you may not always understand the path, but you will always sense the peace. That peace is the signature of divine leadership. It's that calm assurance in your spirit that tells you, even though I don't have everything figured out, I am exactly where I am meant to be. It's the silent confidence that whispers, God is still in control, and that peace will protect you from despair. It will guard your mind from overthinking and your heart from fear. When God leads, He will sometimes take you out of what is familiar to show you what is greater. He will call you away from comfort to prepare you for calling. The people around you may not understand it. They may say you are making a mistake. But when you are led by divine wisdom, you will not always be understood because the ways of God are not the ways of man. When God leads you, He will sometimes remove you from circles that no longer align with your purpose. He will close doors that others are begging to open. He will isolate you for a season, not because He wants you to be lonely, but because He wants you to be ready. Solitude with God is never wasted. It is sacred preparation. When He leads, He refines. When He leads, He strengthens. When He leads, He teaches you how to hear His whisper in the midst of the world's noise. To be led by God is to develop the art of listening. And listening is not just about hearing words, it is about perceiving direction. God speaks through peace, through silence, through signs, through conviction. Sometimes He speaks through opportunities, sometimes through obstacles, but He always speaks to those who are still enough to listen. If your heart is full of noise, you will miss His whisper. If your mind is full of worry, you will overlook His guidance. This is why spiritual stillness is essential. You must learn to quiet your emotions, to silence your fears, to steady your mind, so that your spirit can receive what God is trying to show you. When you allow God to lead you every day, you learn that delays are not denials. They are divine timing. What seems late to you is right on time in God's schedule. You may be praying for something that has not yet come, but God is not ignoring you. He is arranging everything to align perfectly. There are people He must prepare, doors He must open, situations He must correct before He releases what you asked for. Trust that. Stop measuring God's timing with your impatience. His delay is His protection. His not yet is His way of saying, I am still working behind the scenes. If you force what is not ready, you will ruin what could have been perfect. So wait in faith. Wait in surrender. Wait knowing that when God leads, His timing is flawless. And understand this, when God leads you, He doesn't just change your path, He transforms your perception. You start seeing through spiritual eyes. You begin to notice the hand of God in ordinary moments. A closed door becomes a message. A delay becomes a lesson. A disappointment becomes direction. This is how spiritual maturity grows, through the awareness that God is leading, even when life feels uncertain. The immature demand explanations. The mature simply trust the process because they know that God's wisdom is infinite and His plans are perfect. When you let God lead, you stop trying to control people. You stop trying to fix everything and everyone around you. You learn that your responsibility is obedience, not outcome. You obey and God handles the results. You sow the seed and God determines the harvest. You speak the truth and God changes the hearts. Many lose peace because they carry burdens that were never theirs to carry. They try to be the leader instead of the follower. But when you truly let God lead, you release the weight of control and rest in the power of faith. You begin to live lighter, walk freer, and move with confidence because you know you are not navigating life alone. Letting God lead does not mean life will be easy. It means life will be purposeful. You will still face storms, but the difference is that now you will not drown in them. You will still encounter valleys, but now you will walk through them with peace. You will still face opposition, but you will stand firm because you know who is guiding you. God does not promise an easy path, but He promises a victorious destination. He does not remove the mountain. He strengthens your legs to climb it. He does not always calm the storm. Sometimes He teaches you how to rest in the boat while the storm rages. Divine leadership builds endurance. It molds character. It purifies motives. It transforms your heart until you no longer desire your own will, but only the will of God. When you follow divine direction, you begin to live above fear. You no longer fear what's ahead because you know who is ahead. You no longer worry about tomorrow because you know who holds tomorrow. You begin to understand that even your mistakes cannot derail God's purpose. Even when you take the wrong turn, He can redirect you. Even when you fall, He can restore you. Because divine leadership is not fragile, it is merciful. God knows how to bring beauty from your brokenness. He knows how to turn your detours into destiny. But you must allow Him to take the wheel. Stop fighting for control. Stop trying to plan what only God can plan. You are not the author of your story. He is. And His version is always better than yours. Each morning you rise, remind yourself that today is not yours. It belongs to God. Invite Him into your thoughts, your plans, your words, and your emotions. Do not begin your day in rush and noise. Begin it in surrender and stillness. Say within your heart, God, guide my steps, filter my thoughts, and order my path. When you make that your daily posture, you will notice divine alignment. People will appear at the right time. Opportunities will unfold effortlessly. What used to feel heavy will feel lighter. What used to confuse you will begin to make sense. Because divine guidance removes friction. It replaces stress with serenity and confusion with clarity. When you let God lead, even your mistakes become messages. Even your failures become fuel. Even your pain becomes purpose. Because nothing is wasted in divine hands. God uses everything to shape you, strengthen you, and sanctify you. That is why those who allow God to lead never truly lose. They either win or learn. They either rise or are refined. There is no defeat in divine direction. There is only redirection toward what is best. When you truly let God lead your life, you begin to walk with a quiet strength that does not depend on circumstances. You no longer need everything to go your way to feel at peace, because your peace no longer depends on outcomes. It depends on alignment. The storms may rage, people may misunderstand you, plans may change, but your heart remains still. Because you know something others do not. You are being guided by a higher hand. You no longer ask, why is this happening? But rather, what is God teaching me through this? That question alone shifts your entire perspective. Because now, instead of resisting life, you are learning from it. Instead of fighting change, you are flowing with divine purpose. When you let God lead, every challenge becomes a classroom, and every moment becomes a message. Too many people pray for guidance, but few are willing to follow it when it comes. They want divine direction to confirm their desires, not correct them. But true guidance is not about agreement, it's about alignment. When God leads, He will not always tell you what you want to hear, but He will always tell you what you need to hear. And sometimes, what you need to hear will challenge your comfort zone. Sometimes, His direction will lead you away from what is easy. Because ease does not produce elevation. His leading is meant to stretch you, not soothe you. To grow you, not gratify you. And that's why many resist it. They want blessings without change, promises without process, glory without guidance. But if you truly want the life God has prepared for you, you must be willing to follow wherever He leads, even when it doesn't make sense. God's path will never contradict His peace, but it will often confront your pride. He will ask you to release what you think you need. He will ask you to forgive what you would rather resent. He will ask you to move forward when your heart wants to stay still. Because the divine path is not about comfort, it's about transformation. Every time you surrender to God's leading, you shed another layer of fear, ego, and doubt. You become lighter. You become clearer. You begin to move with grace instead of striving. The more you surrender, the freer you become, because the power of divine guidance lies not in control, but in trust. When you allow God to lead you daily, He begins to protect you in ways you cannot see. Some of the people who walked away were not losses. They were divine removals. Some of the doors that closed were not rejections. They were redirections. Some of the plans that failed were not punishments. They were protections. God leads you by what He allows, but also by what He prevents. And one day you will look back and thank Him for every unanswered prayer, because you will realize He was never withholding. He was safeguarding. When you let God lead, you begin to trust that what doesn't happen is just as important as what does. You stop forcing outcomes and you start flowing in divine timing. You stop saying, "Why me?" and start saying, "Thank you for saving me from what I didn't see." Letting God lead is also about letting go. You cannot be led while you are holding tightly to what He is trying to release. You cannot step into the next chapter while clinging to the last one. When God leads, He often begins with subtraction. He takes away what blocks your vision so He can reveal what's beyond it. He removes what you think you cannot live without, so you can discover that He is all you ever needed. Letting go is not loss. It is liberation. When you surrender what you cannot control, you make room for what is meant to be. You cannot carry both control and peace. They cannot coexist. So each day, let your prayer be, "God, take from me whatever keeps me from following you." That is how freedom begins. And as you follow God's lead, you will notice something powerful. He does not lead through fear, but through faith. Fear shouts, but faith whispers. Fear demands proof, but faith trusts presence. When God leads, He does not need to explain every detail. He gives you enough light for the next step, not the whole staircase. Because if you saw everything at once, you would either run ahead or run away. Divine guidance requires daily trust, step by step, moment by moment, choice by choice. And in that rhythm of trust, your spirit begins to mature. You learn patience. You learn discernment. You learn how to distinguish between impulse and inspiration, between emotion and direction, between noise and truth. When God leads, you begin to experience life as a divine conversation. Every event, every encounter, every delay becomes a part of that sacred dialogue. Sometimes He speaks through peace that settles your heart. Sometimes through discomfort that stirs your spirit. Sometimes through opportunities that open, and sometimes through obstacles that close. But to the one who listens deeply, God is never silent. He is always speaking, through nature, through intuition, through circumstances, through the stillness of the soul. That is why allowing God to lead requires sensitivity. You must learn to quiet the outer world so that the inner world can hear. In silence, you will find clarity. In stillness, you will find strength. To walk under divine guidance also means to move with purpose, not pressure. The world will try to rush you, but God will train you to rest. The world will measure your worth by speed, but God measures it by substance. When you let Him lead, you learn that what matters most is not how fast you go, but how faithfully you follow. You stop chasing timelines and start embracing seasons. You realize that everything beautiful in life unfolds in divine order. Flowers bloom when it's their time, rivers flow when it's their time, and blessings arrive when it's their time. When you rush ahead of God, you may enter something prematurely. And what begins in haste often ends in heartbreak. But when you let Him lead, you learn that patience is not passive, it's powerful. It is the posture of trust that says, I will not force what God is still forming. And as He leads, you will notice that your desires begin to transform. What you once wanted no longer satisfies you. The things that used to excite you begin to lose their hold. You begin to crave depth instead of distraction, purpose instead of popularity, truth instead of trends. This is the refinement that comes from divine leadership. God will change not only your path, but your palate. He will purify your desires until they align with His wisdom. That is when true contentment begins. When your heart stops chasing what was never meant for you and starts resting in what is divinely assigned to you. Allowing God to lead you every day also teaches you endurance, because the path of faith is not free from struggle. It is full of sacred strength. When you are led by God, you will not be exempt from trials, but you will be empowered to overcome them. You will learn that pressure is not meant to destroy you, but to define you. Each challenge will refine your character, deepen your trust, and reveal the power within you. Divine leadership does not remove storms, teaches you how to stand in the middle of them. When God leads, even your tears water the soil of your destiny. Even your pain becomes the proof that you are growing. And when you walk closely with God, you realize that the path is not about achievement. It is about alignment. It's not about reaching a destination. It's about becoming who you were meant to be. The goal is not to impress others. It is to live in harmony with divine purpose. Every day becomes an act of worship when you live under divine direction. Every action, every thought, every decision becomes a reflection of surrender. This is where true peace is found, not in doing more, but in being more aligned with God's will. When you let God lead, you no longer fear the unknown, because the unknown is only unknown to you, not to God. He has already walked ahead of you. He has already prepared the way. You may not see it, but He has already arranged every connection, every opportunity, every outcome that you need. Your job is not to predict. Your job is to follow. When you trust that God goes before you, you stop living in anxiety and start living in expectancy. You begin to say, whatever comes, I am ready, because I know who leads me. That is divine confidence, Not arrogance, but assurance. Assurance that your life is in the hands of the one who never fails. There will be days when you do not feel strong, when confusion clouds your mind, when the path seems hidden. But that is when you must remind yourself, divine leadership is not based on feeling, it is based on faith. Even when you don't feel His presence, He is still leading you. Even when you don't hear His voice, He is still speaking through circumstance. Even when you feel lost, He knows exactly where you are. Your emotions do not define His presence, His promise does. So keep walking, keep trusting, keep surrendering. Because every step you take in faith draws you closer to the purpose that has been waiting for you all along. And finally, when you allow God to lead you every day, you discover the highest freedom, the freedom from worry. You stop trying to control tomorrow because you know that God is already there. You stop fearing what's next because you know that divine wisdom governs your path. You begin to live each day with gratitude, not anxiety, with peace, not panic, with trust, not turmoil. Because to live led by God is to live in alignment with truth itself. And there is no greater strength, no deeper peace, no higher wisdom than walking in step with the one who created you. There are things that only the chosen understand. There are secrets that cannot be spoken loudly because they are too holy, too powerful, and too sacred for common ears. You who are chosen by God must learn this truth. Not everyone can understand your calling. Not everyone deserves to hear what God whispered in your spirit. Some things are not meant to be shared, they are meant to be guarded. For when God selects a soul for divine purpose, He does not expose the blueprint of destiny to the crowd. He hides it deep within your heart and says, keep it until the time is right. Chosen one, you must keep this secret. When God chooses you, He places upon you a weight, a spiritual assignment so great that ordinary minds will never grasp it. They will question you, mock you, and misinterpret your silence. But that is because they do not see what you see. They do not hear what you hear. They do not walk where you walk. God is dealing with you in a private language that only your soul understands. And that language, that inner revelation, must not be shouted from the rooftops. It must be protected within the sacred chamber of your heart. Because once you expose divine instruction too soon, you invite interference, misunderstanding, and even sabotage. The secret is the shield of the chosen. The greatest mistake many chosen ones make is speaking before the time. They reveal the dream before it matures. They share the plan before it's sealed. And they invite voices that were never authorized to speak into their destiny. Do not tell everyone what God is doing in you. Do not announce every vision He plants in your spirit. There are things God will only entrust to you when He knows you can keep quiet. Because silence is not weakness, silence is strength. Silence is protection. Silence is obedience. The chosen learn to move in quiet power while others talk in loud confusion. The chosen let their results speak louder than their explanations. Understand this. When God begins to elevate you, not everyone will celebrate. Some will smile but secretly envy you. Some will pretend to support you but quietly plot against you. When the light of God shines upon you, darkness awakens in those who have hidden motives. That is why you must guard your secret. Protect the plan God gave you like a treasure. When others ask what you are working on, smile but stay silent. When they demand to know how you endure so much, lift your eyes to heaven and say, by the strength of God and nothing more. Because the secret of the chosen is that their strength comes from the unseen. Their power flows from prayer, not from performance. There will be moments when God isolates you. You will feel alone, misunderstood, even forgotten. But this isolation is divine. God hides you before He displays you. He separates you before He elevates you. He trains you in the secret place so that when He reveals you, no one can claim they made you. The secret seasons are sacred. They are not punishment, they are preparation. Every chosen one must pass through the school of silence, the wilderness of waiting, the chamber of hidden growth. While others run ahead to be seen, God keeps you hidden to be strengthened. Do not fight that. Embrace it. For the one who can keep God's secret can be trusted with God's power. There will be times when you want to explain yourself, when you want to defend your name, prove your worth, and clarify your intentions. But the chosen do not need validation. The chosen let God speak for them. When you speak too much, you drain your spiritual energy. When you stay silent, you allow God to act. You must learn the discipline of divine restraint. The world calls it silence. Heaven calls it wisdom. Your silence is not ignorance, it is strategy. Because when you reveal too much, you weaken your authority. But when you speak only when led by God, your words carry the weight of heaven. Chosen one, there are prayers that must remain between you and God alone. There are battles you must fight in secret. There are tears no one should see but God. There are victories no one should hear about until the right time. The strength of your journey lies in your ability to hide what God is doing until He says, now. The secret keeps you pure. The secret keeps you focused. The secret keeps you protected. Many have fallen not because the enemy was powerful, but because they exposed the divine information to human judgment. Do not let curiosity lead you to disobedience. Keep the mystery alive, because the mystery is where God works. When you are chosen, God will show you things in dreams, visions, and whispers that are not meant to be public. They are spiritual blueprints, heavenly codes, and divine instructions. You must not broadcast them to everyone who listens. Some will not believe you. Some will twist your words. Some will try to copy your calling. Guard your revelation with the discipline. Even when excitement fills your heart, learn to wait. God never rushes. He moves in perfect timing. The secret He gives you today is the foundation of your testimony tomorrow. Protect it until it grows into fruit that everyone can see. Do you know why God hides His chosen ones? Because destiny needs darkness to develop. Just as a seed cannot grow under open sunlight before it roots itself deep in the soil, so must your purpose remain underground before it blossoms. The soil is your secret. It's the place where God shapes you, refines you, and prepares you. Others may mock you for being unseen, but you are not forgotten. You are planted. And when the time comes, God Himself will cause you to rise, strong, radiant, and unstoppable. Until then, hold your secret like sacred fire, not to be displayed, but to be preserved. Chosen one, God is teaching you to trust Him more than people. Because when you speak too soon, you make room for opinions that can pollute your faith. People cannot always handle the magnitude of what God is doing in you. Their minds are limited, their perspectives are narrow, but God's plan is infinite. What seems impossible to others is natural to Him. That is why He keeps His best work hidden, because only He understands its depth. So when you feel misunderstood, rejoice. When people walk away because you stopped explaining yourself, smile. For it means God is drawing you into deeper secrecy, deeper intimacy with Him alone. The secret is your protection. It is your spiritual armor. When you live in constant explanation, you expose your spirit to judgment and envy. But when you live in quiet confidence, you create a shield around your purpose. Let your progress be silent. Let your growth be unannounced. Let your transformation surprise those who doubted you. The chosen do not announce. They emerge. They do not seek applause. They seek approval from God alone. Every time you stay silent when you could boast, heaven records it as humility. And humility is what keeps the hand of God upon you. Remember this, revelation without timing is destruction. Even if you know what God will do, you must wait for when He will do it. Timing is everything in the realm of the chosen. Speak too soon and you risk losing divine momentum. Speak too late and you may miss the window of a manifestation. But when you stay tuned to God's timing, when you guard His secrets until He releases you, everything flows in perfect harmony. Do not try to convince anyone to believe in what God told you. You are not required to be understood. You are required to be faithful. And faithfulness often looks like a silence to the world. Sometimes your silence will confuse those around you. They will call you distant, mysterious, or strange. But what they call strange, heaven calls sacred. What they call secretive, heaven calls obedient. You are not here to fit in. You are here to fulfill purpose. Let them talk. You keep walking. Let them speculate. You keep praying. Let them guess. You keep guarding what God deposited in your spirit. Because every chosen one must learn to live in divine confidentiality. The more God trusts you with silence, the greater the revelation He gives you in private. When you pray, do not always ask God to reveal His plan to others. Ask Him to strengthen your ability to carry it in secret. The secret place is where spiritual authority is born. When God sees that you can protect these mysteries, He begins to trust you with the greater things. Many people want to hear God's voice, but few are ready to handle what He says. Because revelation comes with a responsibility. When God speaks, He expects silence until He commands action. That silence is not emptiness, it's alignment. It means your heart and His are beating in the same rhythm. There will be seasons when God blesses you in ways that others cannot comprehend. You will experience favor that seems unreasonable, doors that open without explanation, and opportunities that defy logic. Do not explain it. Do not justify it. Just give glory to God in secret. Because when you try to explain spiritual favor to those with a carnal mind, you only invite confusion. Some blessings are meant to be displayed, others are meant to be hidden. Let your gratitude be louder than your announcements. Let your worship be stronger than your explanations. The chosen learn to celebrate silently. The more God uses you, the more you must learn discretion. Because visibility is vulnerability. The higher God takes you, the more careful you must be about who you trust, what you reveal, and where you speak. Some people are not enemies, but they are not ready to handle your truth. Love them, but protect your purpose. Respect them, but guard your revelation. Even when God performs miracles in your life, discern when to testify and when to stay quiet. Testimony has timing. Every secret will have its day of unveiling, but let God decide that day, not your emotions. When people ask how you remain so peaceful, how you endure so much without breaking, just smile. Because the secret of your strength is not in what they see, it's in who sustains you. God has become your foundation, your voice, your region, your breath. You no longer need the validation of the world because you have the approval of heaven. You are not sustained by applause, but by alignment. The chosen do not depend on recognition. They depend on revelation. The secret is that your power comes from surrender, from walking so closely with God that your silence becomes your weapon. Every chosen soul will one day face betrayal. Someone will misuse your trust, twist your words, or expose what you said in confidence. But do not let that wound you. God allowed it to train you. Betrayal is a part of the molding of the chosen. It teaches you that your secret belongs to God alone. You cannot share divine secrets with untested hearts. That's why God allows disappointment to sharpen your discernment. Learn to give your silence away once you gave your words. Learn to pray instead of explain. Learn to let God handle what your mouth once tried to defend. The chosen must also understand that their silence is not passive, it is prophetic. When you refuse to react, you are declaring that your confidence is not in man, but in God. When you stay calm while others gossip, you are demonstrating trust in divine justice. Your stillness is a statement of faith. It says, I know God is fighting for me. You don't have to prove yourself when heaven has already approved you. You don't have to expose others when God will reveal everything in His own time. The chosen walk with a quiet authority, unshaken, unbothered, unstoppable. God will sometimes test you by revealing small secrets to see if you can keep them. If you cannot handle silence, you cannot handle revelation. The chosen are trained in secrecy before being trusted with glory. You must learn to hold divine information without letting curiosity or pride make you speak. When you can protect what God shows you in private, He will begin to use you publicly. But if you rush to announce every divine whisper, He will withdraw until you learn restraint. Because revelation and maturity go hand in hand. Do you want to be trusted by God? Then become silent before Him. When others run to speak, learn to listen. When others boast of their visions, hide yours in prayer. When others seek to impress, seek to obey. Your strength lies in your stillness. The chosen are not loud. They are deep. They carry secrets that the world cannot interpret. They are misunderstood because their lives are written in divine code. You must accept that not everyone will understand you, and that is okay. You are not here to be understood. You are here to fulfill divine purpose. There will be moments when your secret burns inside you, when the weight of what God showed you feels too great to carry alone. In those moments, don't run to people, run to God. Pour out your heart before Him. He is the only one worthy of hearing it. He understands every unspoken thought, every silent tear, every private struggle. He is your confidant, your shield, your secret keeper. And the more you trust Him with your silence, the more He trusts you with His mysteries. When God chooses you, He does not announce it to the world. He confirms it in your spirit. You feel it in the way your heart begins to reject what others accept. You feel it in the way you can no longer enjoy what once entertained you. You feel it in your sleepless nights when something divine burns within you, whispering that you were made for something greater. That whisper is not madness, it is destiny calling. And the secret of that calling is too sacred to expose to people who are still trying to understand their own lives. The chosen must learn to live with divine restraint, because when you speak too soon, you give room for the wrong voices to enter your sacred assignment. Chosen one, the power of your life is not in how much you reveal, but in how much you conceal until the right time. God hides His treasures until they are ready. The sun does not appear instantly, it rises gradually. In the same way, your purpose is not meant to explode overnight. It is meant to unfold in divine rhythm. You must keep quiet while God works beneath the surface. People may call your stillness stagnation, but it is actually divine strategy. Every moment of silence is a seed. Every unspoken word is a weapon. Every secret you protect becomes a shield around your destiny. Do not let impatience destroy what God is building. The chosen are often tempted to prove themselves, to show their worth, to display their progress. But those who truly walk with God know that the loudest victories are those that happen in silence. The moment you start explaining everything, you lose your spiritual covering. Let God speak through your results, not your reports. When the fruit appears, you will not need to explain the seed. When the promise manifests, you will not need to defend the process. God Himself will vindicate you. There is divine power in mystery. God moves through hiddenness because hiddenness protects holiness. The more sacred something is, the more concealed it must be. Think of how the most precious jewels are buried deep in the earth. The deeper they are hidden, the greater their value. So it is with you. You are hidden because you are valuable. You are not overlooked. You are protected. You are not forgotten. You are being refined. The world may not see your preparation, but heaven does. And when the time comes, God will lift the veil and show what He has been shaping in secret. Be careful whom you allow to see your process. Not every listener is a believer. Some want information to help you. Others want information to harm you. This is why God wants His chosen ones to discern the company they keep. You must not speak divine plans in casual conversations. You must not expose your prayer life to curious minds. You must not allow people with worldly perspectives to analyze heavenly matters. There are things only God can understand, and you must keep them between you and Him. Chosen one, the greatest revelations often come when no one is watching. God does His best work when you are alone with Him. That is why your solitude is sacred. Do not rush out of it. Do not despise it. When you are hidden, God is speaking. When you are silent, God is shaping. When you are still, God is strengthening. The quiet seasons of your life are not empty. They are pregnant with divine purpose. You may not see the full picture yet, but trust that every moment of obscurity is preparation for manifestation. Your secret is not weakness, it is warfare. It is your spiritual strategy against premature exposure. The enemy cannot attack what he does not know. The moment you speak your secret carelessly, you open a door for interference. Guard your plans in prayer. Guard your thoughts in stillness. Guard your dreams in the safety of your spirit. Even your tears are sacred. Let them fall before God alone. Let your pain be seen only by the one who understands it fully. There is healing in hiddenness. There is power in privacy. There is victory in silence. Do not be deceived by the noise of the world. In this age of constant exposure, where everyone wants to show what they are doing, the chosen must walk differently. You do not need to announce your growth, your success, or your intimacy with God. True power never advertises itself. True authority moves quietly. God does not thunder every moment, He whispers. And the chosen must learn that same holy restraint, to move with confidence, not noise, with wisdom, not haste, with purpose, not pride. When God gives you vision, protect it like a seed planted in your soul. A seed does not survive if it is dug up every day to show others. You must let it grow underground where no eye can see. That is how faith works. Faith does not need applause, it needs patience. While others look for recognition, you must look for revelation. The chosen are not driven by validation from people, they are driven by instruction from God. Keep the instruction pure, keep the secret safe, because what God has for you is too sacred to be shared before it's time. Sometimes God will even silence your spirit. You will feel as though you cannot speak, as though words are trapped within you. Do not force expression when God has ordained silence. That divine restriction is not punishment, it is a preservation. He is teaching you that some things must be protected until they are mature. You cannot birth the revelation before it's time. The chosen must learn the rhythm of heaven, a rhythm that moves slower than the world, but far deeper in meaning. There is a holiness in holding back. There is reverence in waiting. When you protect what God is doing within you, you honor His process. The impatient reveal, the wise conceal, the impulsive expose, the faithful preserve. You must become so spiritually mature that your peace is not disturbed by not being understood. Let them misunderstand you. Let them talk. Let them wonder. While they talk, you build. While they guess, you grow. While they question, you pray. That is the secret life of the chosen. Never allow the desire to be seen to destroy what God is building in the unseen. Many lose divine favor because they exchange secrecy for visibility. They reveal the blueprint too soon. They announce the miracle before it fully forms. They speak the prophecy before it manifests. And when opposition rises, they are unprepared because they shared prematurely. The chosen must learn that not all good news should be broadcasted, and not every blessing must be explained. Some victories belong only between you and God. The chosen are misunderstood because they live from a deeper place. They make decisions that don't make sense to others. They walk away from things others chase. They stay silent in situations where others would argue. That silence is not passivity, it is dominion. It is the authority of one who knows that God controls outcomes. You do not need to win arguments when God is your defender. You do not need to prove your worth when your worth is already established in heaven. The moment you understand that, you stop explaining yourself to those who were never meant to understand your journey. There are people who will never recognize the anointing on your life because they are too familiar with your humanity. That is why God keeps you silent in their presence. If you speak too much, they will misinterpret divine wisdom as arrogance. If you reveal too much, they will turn your prophecy into gossip. Silence protects you from the immature. The chosen must learn to communicate less and discern more. Every conversation is an exchange of energy. Guard yours wisely. Chosen one, your silence is not empty. It is a declaration of trust. It says, I do not need to control what God already controls. It says, I am safe even when I am unseen. It says, I believe in divine timing more than human approval. When you choose silence over argument, you are telling God, I trust you to reveal the truth. And He will. God will always vindicate the one who keeps their heart pure and their mouth closed. There will come a time when the secret you kept will become the testimony that inspires many, but it will only happen when the process is complete. God reveals outcomes, not drafts. He presents finished works, not unfinished stories. That is why He hides you while He perfects you. The longer He hides you, the greater the unveiling will be. Do not fight the hidden season. Embrace it as evidence that something magnificent is growing within you. You must also understand that every chosen soul carries a secret pain. That pain is the pressure of divine formation. It is the tension of being between promise and fulfillment. You cannot explain it to others because they will not understand. So you carry it quietly. You pray when no one sees. You weep when no one hears. You worship when no one applauds. That is how God molds you into a vessel of depth and power. The pain is not punishment. It is preparation. The chosen are pressed privately so that they can shine publicly. Be careful not to confuse exposure with elevation. Not every spotlight comes from God. Some lights blind. Only God's light refines. The world offers visibility. God offers purpose. Choose purpose. Choose silence over show. Choose depth over display. The chosen are not meant to chase attention. They are meant to carry presence. And the presence of God rests upon those who can be trusted to keep His secrets. When you can live without explaining yourself, you have reached a level of spiritual maturity few ever attain. You no longer need people to understand you because you have a peace with God. You no longer chase validation because you have a vision. You no longer fear being misunderstood because you are anchored in divine purpose. This is the true power of the chosen, to walk in quiet confidence, to act without announcing, to move with divine certainty that God's plan will unfold exactly as intended. There will be days when you feel like speaking, when silence feels like suffocation. In those moments, remember, even silence speaks to God. Every unspoken word becomes a prayer. Every restrained thought becomes an offering. Every withheld explanation becomes a sacrifice of obedience. God hears what you do not say. He sees the strength it takes to stay silent, and He rewards it with a deeper revelation and higher discernment. There will come a time, chosen one, when the silence you kept will not just protect you, it will define you. It will become the mark of your wisdom, the evidence of your spiritual maturity. You will look back and realize that every moment you stayed silent was a moment of divine discipline. God was teaching you how to operate in wisdom rather than emotion. He was training you to respond to spiritual things spiritually, not through the weakness of human impulse. The chosen are not reactionary, they are revelatory. They move when God says move. And they speak only when the Spirit within them confirms the timing. God hides power behind restrained. Those who cannot control their tongue cannot carry divine authority. The moment you speak without guidance, you expose what God meant to protect. The chosen must become guardians of divine speech, carriers of holy discretion. You cannot reveal what has not been authorized. You cannot share what has not been sealed. God gives you insight, not to boast, but to build. Some revelations are meant to be prayed through, not spoken aloud. Some instructions are meant to be followed in silence, not shared with spectators. Do you know why God trusts only few with deep mysteries? Because only the few can carry them without pride. When you know something divine, when you've heard a whisper from eternity, it is easy to feel superior to others. But that is not the way of the chosen. The chosen understand that revelation is not for exaltation, it is for execution. You were not shown so you could shine. You were shown so you could serve. And those who serve God must learn to do it quietly, faithfully, and without seeking attention. God elevates those who can walk in secrecy without losing humility. The proud want to be seen, the wise want to be effective. The proud crave acknowledgement, the wise crave alignment. When you understand that your purpose is sacred, you no longer need validation. You no longer chase recognition because your reward is not found in applause, it is found in the quiet satisfaction of obedience. Every hidden act of faith, every silent prayer, every unseen sacrifice, God records it all. And when the time is right, He rewards openly what was done in secret. Chosen one, you must understand that even your pain is part of the secret plan. The tears you shed in the dark, the battles you fight in silence, the storms you endure alone, all of this divine preparation. God does not expose your struggles to embarrass you. He conceals them to empower you. You may think your suffering is unseen, but it is in those very moments of isolation that heaven leans closest. God is nearest to the ones who trust Him in silence. Your pain is the proof of your preparation, and your restraint is the proof of your readiness. Sometimes God will strip away every audience so you can learn that His approval is enough. When no one applauds you, He will. When no one notices your effort, He sees. When no one understands your silence, He knows why you kept it. The chosen must learn to live for the unseen applause of heaven. Because when your loyalty shifts from people to God, you enter a different level of spiritual authority. You no longer depend on the world to define you. You become unshakable, untouchable, and unstoppable, not because of pride, but because of trust. The secret you keep is a covenant between you and God. When you protect it, you are saying, God, I trust you even when I don't understand. I trust you even when I can't explain. Every act of silence becomes an act of worship. Every moment of restraint becomes a declaration of faith. You are saying, I believe your timing is perfect. I believe your ways are higher. That kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of trust invites divine favor. There are many who start with passion but lose power because they cannot stay silent. They rush ahead of God's timing, revealing what was meant to be hidden. They expose divine plans to unspiritual listeners, and what was sacred becomes contaminated by doubt. But the chosen know that not everything seen should be spoken, and not everything spoken should be repeated. You must be a vault of divine wisdom, sealed, disciplined, and strong. Only then can God entrust you with deeper revelations. When God whispers something to your spirit, it is not meant for debate, it is meant for destiny. You must guard the divine whispers like a holy fire. Keep them in your soul until the moment of manifestation. The world will see the fruit, but they will never know the root. That's the power of the chosen. The ability to endure in secrecy until God says, now. When the now of God comes, no power in heaven or on earth can stop what He has prepared. But before the now, there must be silence. There will be voices that tempt you to speak before time. People will ask questions you are not meant to answer. They will pressure you to explain what God has not yet revealed. Resist that temptation. The chosen are not obligated to explain divine timing. They are called to obey it. You don't owe anyone an explanation for what God is doing in you. You owe God your obedience, your faith, and your silence. The less you explain, the more peace you preserve. Sometimes your silence will frustrate others because it reveals their impatience. Let it. When they cannot understand your quiet confidence, they will misinterpret it as pride. But it is not pride, it is peace. The chosen walk with an assurance that does not require explanation. You don't need to prove your relationship with God. Your life will prove it. You don't need to convince others of your calling. Your fruit will testify of it. The chosen don't waste words defending themselves. They conserve energy for divine purpose. So, chosen one, keep walking with a quiet strength. Let others chase attention. You chase alignment. Let others reveal their plans. You protect yours. Let others speak. You listen. For in your silence, God is speaking. In your restraint, He is releasing. In your obedience, He is preparing to unveil what no one has seen, what no ear has heard, and what no heart has yet imagined. You are not forgotten. You are hidden. You are not ignored. You are being refined. You are not delayed. You are being prepared. The secret you keep is the foundation of the destiny you will live. Guard it with all your heart. Protect it with all your strength. For in the silence of the chosen, God is crafting greatness that will one day speak louder than any words ever could. There are moments in life when your heart feels pulled in every direction, when you see people struggling, broken, or lost, and something inside you says, help them. That instinct is noble. That compassion is divine. But not every person you feel called to help is sent by God. Some are sent by darkness to drain your light. Some are not a test of your kindness. They are a test of your discernment. There are people who will use your goodness as their ladder, and once they've climbed high enough, they'll kick it away. There are people who wear the mask of need but carry a spirit of destruction. And if you do not learn to discern who they are, your blessings will be stolen by the very ones you try to lift. God does not call you to be everyone's savior. He calls you to walk in wisdom. You must understand that helping without discernment can become disobedience. Many people have delayed their destiny because they refuse to let go of those God never assigned to them. You cannot carry everyone into your promise. You cannot pour into every cup. Some cups are cracked, and no matter how much you pour, it will never fill. You will give your energy, your peace, your faith, and still they will remain empty. not because they need more from you, but because they refuse to fix what's broken within them. There are people who don't want transformation. They want attention. They don't want correction. They want sympathy. They don't want to rise. They want you to fall with them. And if you keep rescuing them, you are standing in the way of what God Himself is trying to teach them. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. Sometimes the most spiritual act is silence. Sometimes obedience means letting God deal with them, not you. The first type of person you must never help is the one who refuses to take responsibility for their own life. They blame everyone for their situation, their parents, their job, their friends, the world, even God. They live in a constant state of victimhood. And no matter how many times you give them advice, money, or comfort, they will always return to the same pit. Why? Because they are not looking for change. They are looking for someone to carry their excuses. You cannot deliver someone who enjoys their prison. You cannot help someone who has made pain their identity. God never rewards laziness or blame. He rewards effort, faith, and accountability. When you help someone who refuses to take responsibility, you are partnering with their dysfunction. You are financing their stagnation. Step back and let them face themselves. Until they are ready to confront the truth, your help will only feed their weakness. The second type of person you must not help is the one who dishonors your presence. There are people who are drawn to your light but despise the source of it. They love what you can do for them, but they do not value who you are. They come to you for advice but never listen. They call you in crisis, but when peace returns, they disappear. They take, and take again, but gratitude never crosses their lips. You must understand, God does not bless dishonor. The moment you allow people to take from you without respect, you are teaching them that your time, your wisdom, and your peace are cheap. Protect your value. Protect your energy. When you keep helping those who mock or disregard your worth, you are not being humble. You are being careless with the treasure God gave you. The third type of person you must not help is the one who rebels against divine truth. These are people who hear wisdom but reject it. They know what is right but choose what is wrong. They walk in pride, refusing to humble themselves, yet when trouble comes, they want you to fix what their rebellion caused. You cannot rescue someone from consequences they keep creating. If God allows a storm to humble them and you interfere, you are standing between them and their awakening. Sometimes God uses pain to break arrogance. Sometimes He allows failure to reveal the futility of rebellion. Do not interrupt that process. There are moments when stepping back is not cruelty, it is alignment with the divine order. When you help those who defy truth, you are not saving them. You are opposing what God is doing in their life. The fourth type of person you must not help is the one who constantly drains your spirit. There are people who carry an energy that suffocates your peace. Every time you speak with them, you feel weaker. Every time you try to encourage them, they respond with doubt, fear, and negativity. They are not seeking light, they are addicted to darkness. They will find a problem in every solution, a storm in every blessing, a reason to complain in every sunrise. You must learn these truths. You cannot heal someone who is committed to hopelessness. God never called you to be the savior of everyone's emotional world. Protect your spirit from spiritual leeches. If being around someone constantly steals your joy, your clarity, your focus, that is a sign God is telling you to create distance. Your peace is not selfish, it is sacred. The fifth type of person you must not help is the one who uses manipulation disguised as need. These are the ones who cry when they want control, who act broken to make you feel guilty, who twist kindness into obligation. They study your compassion and use it against you. They know you hate to see people suffer, so they will act like they cannot survive without you, not because they truly need you, but because they fear losing your attention. Understand this clearly. Guilt is not guidance. If you are helping someone because you feel pressured, not because you feel led, that is not God, that is manipulation. The enemy often enters through emotional guilt. Stand firm in discernment. You owe no one access to your energy if their motives are deceitful. Real love never manipulates. True. Need never controls. The sixth type of person you must not help is the one who envies you. They smile when you're near but secretly compete with you. They act like your friend but secretly hope you fail. When you succeed, they grow silent. When you struggle, they suddenly reappear. These are dangerous souls because they carry hidden poison. Their envy is not always spoken, it is spiritual. You will feel it. Every time you help them, something within you feels uneasy. That is your inner spirit warning you. This connection is not pure. Do not ignore that signal. Helping someone who envies you is like feeding a snake. No matter how kind you are, one day it will bite. Love them from afar. Pray for their healing, but do not share your plans, your vision, or your heart with them. God removes some people from your path, not because they are bad, but because they cannot handle your destiny. The seventh type of person you must not help is the one who resists the growth. They have been given opportunity after opportunity, but they remain the same. You advise them, you pray for them, you open doors for them, yet they never walk through. Why? Because growth requires humility. Growth requires the willingness to change, to learn, to be uncomfortable. And these people are addicted to comfort. They want blessings without transformation, promotion without discipline, miracles without obedience. You cannot drag someone into maturity. You cannot give motivation to a soul that has chosen stagnation. Every time you try to carry them, you are slowing yourself down. Some people do not need another chance. They need to feel the weight of their choices. Let God handle them. Your assignment is not to keep them comfortable, but to stay aligned with the divine purpose. Helping others is sacred, but helping the wrong people can become a curse. God never designed you to be drained, used, or manipulated. He designed you to operate in wisdom. There is a time to give, and there is a time to walk away. There is a time to support, and there is a time to be still. Discernment is not coldness, it is protection. When you follow God, He will teach you when your helping hand becomes a hindrance. Many people pray for strength, but God's strength often comes through separation. He removes certain people so your energy can return, your peace can rise, and your faith can breathe again. When you stop helping those He did not send you to, doors open, blessings flow, clarity returns. The same time you once wasted trying to fix people becomes time you use to fulfill your purpose. You must understand there is a difference between being kind and being careless. True kindness has boundaries. Even God sets limits. He gives freely, but not without order. He forgives, but He also corrects. He blesses, but He also withdraws from the ungrateful. If the Creator Himself uses discernment in mercy, so should you. Sometimes the hardest act of obedience is to stop helping someone you love, because love often blinds discernment. But remember, love without wisdom becomes distraction. If helping them keeps you anxious, confused, or exhausted, that is not divine love. That is spiritual manipulation. Real love releases. When God says release, real love trusts that letting go is not cruelty, it's alignment. There are people whose lives will never improve because they always have someone rescuing them from consequences. Do not play the role of their deliverer. If they fall, let them rise through experience. If they fail, let them find strength in reflection. The greatest lessons often come through pain, not comfort. And if you keep rescuing them, you are denying them the very experience that could transform them. Helping without boundaries does not make you godly. It makes you unwise. You are not called to carry the entire world, only what God placed in your hands. When you start saying no to the wrong people, you are saying yes to divine direction. Do not fear being misunderstood. People who benefit from your lack of boundaries will always call you selfish when you stop serving their agenda. Let them talk. Let them go. You answer to God, not to human opinion. God will always test your heart through people. Some will be genuine assignments. Your help will heal them. Others will be distractions. Your help will drain you. Pray for discernment daily. Ask God, who is my assignment and who is my distraction? Because the wrong connection can delay your entire destiny. There are helpers who lose their calling because they kept feeding takers. There are dreamers who never built their vision because they kept saving people who refuse to change. Your destiny deserves your focus, not your exhaustion. You are not created to be everyone's solution. You are created to walk in divine purpose, and purpose requires separation. Do not let guilt keep you in relationships God has already ended. Do not let emotion keep you attached to people who only bring confusion. Your peace is your sign. If helping them keeps stealing your peace, God is showing you that your assignment there is over. When you stop helping those who resist growth, who disrespect your value, who manipulate your kindness, or who envy your progress, you make room for divine alignment. You create space for the right people, the ones who value your presence, who multiply your peace, and who help you rise higher in faith and strength. Helping is holy, but helping the wrong person is disobedience. Be wise with your compassion. Guard your energy. Protect your calling. Not everyone who cries deserves your hand. Some only need to feel the weight of silence. Not everyone who asks deserves your time. Some only want your attention, not your wisdom. Pray before you give. Listen before you move. Discern before you act. For every person you are meant to help, there will always be another sent to distract you. When you finally learn this truth, your life will shift. You will stop chasing approval and start walking in purpose. You will stop trying to save everyone and start building what God placed inside you. And as you walk in this divine clarity, you will discover that peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of order. God's order. When God begins to elevate your life, He will also begin to expose the people who cannot go with you. That is not punishment. It is protection. God will start showing you who truly stand for you and who only stand near you for their own benefit. Some people come into your life not as blessing, but as barriers. They are not there to support your mission. They are there to drain your focus. And if you do not separate when God shows you the truth, you will lose time, peace, and divine momentum. Helping the wrong people can blind you to the right ones. That is why discernment is one of the highest forms of wisdom. You cannot walk in divine favor and still ignore divine warning. There are people who disguise themselves as humble when in truth they carry hidden pride. They act like they need you, but deep down, they resent that they do. These are the ones who pretend to be teachable. But the moment you correct them, they withdraw. You pour into them, yet they secretly measure your flaws. You try to guide them, but they use your words to compete with you. This kind of person is a danger to your peace. Do not mistake false humility for faith. True humility listens. True humility honors correction. True humility does not pretend to learn while waiting to surpass you. When you help such people, you are not lifting them. You are empowering deceit. Let them walk their own path. God will teach them what your words could not. You must understand that God allows certain people to fail, not because He delights in their downfall, but because He wants them to wake up. Pain can be a stronger teacher than advice. Some people will never grow until the comfort of dependency is taken away. If you keep cushioning every fall, they will never learn to stand. Sometimes God's mercy is disguised as distance. When He tells you to step back, it's not because He wants you to stop caring. It is because He wants your caring to stop interfering. There is a difference between compassion and interference. Compassion says, I want you to rise. Interference says, I'll carry you so you don't have to. God does not build the strength through rescue. He builds it through responsibility. There is also the type of person who mistakes your kindness for weakness. They think that because you are gentle, you can be used. They think that because you give easily, you will never stop. But God is not mocked. The one who takes advantage of kindness is not fooling you. They are provoking divine correction. Never feel guilty for walking away from those who abuse your heart. God does not reward those who tolerate manipulation. He rewards those who honor truth. When you stop allowing yourself to be used, you are not being cruel, you are being obedient, because your purpose is sacred. And God will not allow it to be contaminated by those who see your generosity as a tool for their convenience. Do not allow your empathy to become your enemy. Many who walk in compassion end up exhausted because they never learn the discipline of no. The word no can be an act of worship when it protects what God has entrusted to you. Every no to distraction is a yes to your destiny. There are people who will make you feel guilty for choosing peace over chaos. But remember, your peace is not negotiable. If your presence brings calm, but theirs brings confusion, you already have your answer. God does not call you to keep walking into storms you were once delivered from. Sometimes the test is not whether you can love, but whether you can let go. One of the greatest truths in life is that not everyone who cries deserves comfort. Some tears are sincere, but others are strategic. There are people who cry not because they are broken, but because they want control. Their sadness is a weapon. Their pain is their power over compassionate hearts. You must learn to listen beyond emotion. Ask God to give you spiritual ears to hear the intent behind the words, to sense the spirit behind the plea. God will show you when a cry for help is real and when it is manipulation. If He tells you to walk away, do not hesitate. Your obedience may be the very thing that forces that person to seek God instead of leaning on you. There will be moments when your heart says help, but your spirit says wait. Listen to your spirit. God will never guide you into something that drains your peace. Peace is His signature. Whenever your help feels forced, heavy, or confusing, that is a sign that God is not in it. Divine help always carries clarity, not chaos. You will know it because it flows naturally. It strengthens both you and the person you help. But when your helping turns into a cycle of constant saving, constant rescuing, constant fatigue, you are outside of divine order. There are also those who appear helpless but secretly carry pride that refuses correction. They want your assistance but not your advice. They want your resources but not your wisdom. They want your hand but not your direction. And when you try to speak truth into their lives, they turn cold or defensive. Understand this: helping someone who rejects truth is like pouring water into sand. It disappears, leaving no growth behind. God never blesses arrogance. And when you help someone walk in pride, you align yourself with their downfall. Step aside. Let them wrestle with their choices. Your silence will teach more than your words ever could. Sometimes God tests your heart by bringing you people who remind you of your older self, broken, lost, confused. You will feel compassion because you've been there. But discernment will remind you that not everyone who shares your pain shares your path. You cannot save everyone who struggles the way you once did. Some must walk through their own wilderness. You may feel their pain deeply, but that does not mean you are called to carry it. Even in compassion, there must be boundaries. For if you become consumed by another's chaos, you will lose your own clarity. There are also those who want your help, but not your peace. They want your energy, but not your alignment. They will drain you, distract you, and then disappear when you are empty. You will wonder why you feel spiritually tired after being with them. That is because they are not aligned with your divine purpose. Their spirit resists your peace. And the moment you stop feeding them, they turn against you. Do not take that personally. That is proof that your light exposed their darkness. When people react negatively to your boundaries, it is because they benefited from your lack of them. Helping others is noble, but when it becomes endless repair, you must ask, am I doing this for God? Or am I doing this to feel needy? Because sometimes the desire to help comes not from divine assignment, but from emotional attachment. The desire to fix can be a disguised form of pride, a belief that you can do what only God can. Release that burden. You were never called to be anyone's savior. You were called to be a vessel, nothing more, nothing less. A vessel must pour when God says pour, and stay still when God says still. If you pour without permission, you empty yourself in places that will never value your oil. Many people fail to reach their next season because they are busy maintaining others who refuse to move. Every time you carry someone who has no intention of walking, you delay your own journey. You must choose obedience over attachment. Sometimes love means saying, I care for you, but I will not carry you. That statement does not make you heartless, it makes you wise. For even divine love operates in order. God helps those who move in faith, not those who live in excuses. There are seasons when God will call you to isolation, not as punishment, but as purification. He removes the voices that keep you dependent on human approval. He cuts off relationships that confuse your discernment. In their silence, you will learn to hear Him clearly. You will see how much of your helping was driven by fear. Fear of being rejected, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being seen as unkind. But when you walk with God, you realize that obedience is greater than approval. If your heart is right with God, you need not explain your decision to anyone. The people you help should bring peace to your soul, not heaviness to your spirit. If their presence constantly disturbs your focus, they are not your assignment. Real connections are mutual. They uplift, they strengthen, they inspire. But toxic ones are parasitic. They take and never give. They promise loyalty but deliver confusion. They talk of unity but sow division. Helping them is like watering weeds. They grow quickly, but they choke the garden of your purpose. Guard your garden. Guard your peace. Guard your spirit. God will never require you to destroy yourself to prove your kindness. True kindness honors balance. The same God who commands love also commands wisdom. You must learn to see beyond emotion and act from discernment. When God tells you to help, you will feel a divine flow. Peace will confirm it. But when He tells you to hold back, obedience will protect you. Every no spoken in alignment with God saves you from 100 battles later. There will be times when the people you refuse to help will accuse you of being selfish, arrogant, or cold. They will twist your silence into betrayal. But do not be moved. Let them speak. Let them misunderstand. You are not responsible for their perception. You are responsible for your obedience. When you stand firm, when you follow the quiet voice of God rather than the loud cries of manipulation, you step into spiritual authority. You will find yourself lighter, freer, and more peaceful than ever before. And soon you will see why God removed certain people. Because the moment you let them go, doors you never imagined will open. Energy will return. Ideas will flow. Your spirit will breathe again. You will realize that your delay was never due to lack of ability. It was due to misplaced loyalty. You were busy helping those who had no intention of working with you. But now God will send new people, those aligned with your vision, those who carry the same light, those who multiply your peace instead of consuming it. Helping others is divine when directed by God. It becomes destruction when driven by guilt. You are not called to be drained. You are called to overflow. And overflow only happens when you pour where God instructs. Choose your soil wisely. Not every hand that reaches deserves your help. Some reach to be lifted. Others reach to pull you down. Pray for discernment. Because when you learn whom to help and whom to release, you enter the realm of divine balance, the place where peace guides every decision and God directs every step. And remember, when God removes people from your path, do not chase them. Do not question it. Do not mourn what was meant to end. God sees what you do not. Some people must exit your life so your destiny can enter. Your peace is the confirmation. When the burden lifts, that was God's hand releasing you. When confusion fades, that was God's wisdom guiding you. And when clarity returns, that was God's voice whispering, now you are ready to walk with me. When God starts preparing you for the next level of your destiny, He will often begin by testing your heart through people. Some will come wrapped in need and others cloaked in admiration. Some will appear helpless and others will appear wise. But look closer, not every cry for help is a divine signal to act. Sometimes it is a trap of distraction sent to derail your progress. Every person who crosses your path is either a seed or a weed. One will multiply your peace, the other will choke your purpose. That is why God gives discernment, not so you may judge, but so you may guard what is sacred. Discernment is not suspicion. Suspicion looks through fear. Discernment looks through wisdom. Discernment does not say, this person is bad. It says, this connection is not right. There is a difference. Some people are not evil. They are simply not meant for your journey. God designed every soul for a particular season. And when that season ends, holding on becomes disobedience. The pain of release is temporary, but the cost of holding on is eternal delay. If you continue to pour into those who refuse to grow, you will dry up before you ever reach your divine assignment. There is a power in silence. When you stop rescuing everyone who calls, you make room for God to speak. There are moments when the most spiritual thing you can do is to say nothing, to stop explaining yourself, to stop fixing everyone's problems, and to let God be God. You were never meant to carry the emotional burdens of the world. Your strength has a divine purpose, and it must be reserved for what truly matters. Every time you exhaust yourself for the ungrateful, you are robbing your destiny of its strength. Some people only value you when they need something. When they are full, they forget your kindness. When they are empty, they return as if nothing happened. Do not be deceived. Gratitude reveals truth. When a person can take your time, your love, your help, and offer no appreciation, it is a sign that their spirit is not aligned with yours. God values gratitude because it reveals the condition of the heart. A thankful heart multiplies blessings. An ungrateful one repels them. You cannot help someone who despises the very hand that feeds them. God watches how you use your compassion. Compassion is holy, but it must be guided. If your compassion leads you to compromise your peace, it is no longer compassion, it is bondage. The moment you are helping becomes a source of anxiety, confusion, or fatigue, you must ask, is this still my assignment? God never calls you to what destroys your clarity. Peace is the confirmation of divine direction. If peace is absent, God's approval is not there. Do not confuse guilt with guidance. Guilt says, you must help or you are heartless. Guidance says, help only when it strengthens both souls. The voice of guilt will keep you trapped in cycles of exhaustion. The voice of God will lead you into balance. When you feel pressure to help, pause and pray. God will either give you peace to proceed or conviction to stay still. Never move under emotional manipulation. Move only under divine instruction. You see, not every act of helping is holy. Sometimes helping becomes a form of pride, a subtle belief that you can fix what only God can. The moment you take the place of divine intervention, you remove the opportunity for that person to seek God themselves. Some people will never look upward as long as they can look sideways. And if you keep being the one they run to, you become the replacement for the one they should depend on. Let God take His place. Let them experience the emptiness that drives them back to faith. When you help people who constantly reject truth, you are not serving them, you are strengthening their rebellion. When you continue to comfort those who misuse you, you are teaching them that love tolerates abuse. When you give endlessly to those who never give back, you are telling them that your time is not valuable. You must correct the message you are sending. Love without boundaries is not love, it is surrender. Real love protects itself because it knows that peace is sacred. Some will misunderstand your withdrawal. They will say you have changed, become cold, or lost compassion. But what they call distance, God calls discipline. The discipline to protect your purpose, the discipline to walk away from confusion, the discipline to honor the boundaries God placed around your heart. You are not being cruel when you set limits. You are being wise. For wisdom does not give endlessly, it gives strategically. You must also understand that every divine calling requires separation. When God wants to elevate you, He will remove the voices that keep you small. He will strip away relationships that distract your focus. This separation will hurt because your heart will still care. But do not mistake paying for loss. It is preparation. God removes what cannot handle where He is taking you. If you keep trying to carry those He has released, you are fighting divine timing. Your path requires lightness. Let go of the weight. So if today you feel drained, overwhelmed, or burdened by those who take without giving, it is time to listen. God is calling you to a higher level of discernment. He is teaching you that compassion without boundaries becomes chaos. He is inviting you to rest, to realign, to trust that saying no is sometimes the most spiritual act you can perform. And when you finally learn this truth, when you master the art of helping with wisdom, not emotion, you will discover the peace that passes understanding. You will walk lighter, love purer, and give smarter. You will no longer fear saying no, because you will know that your obedience is your offering. You will see that you do not need to be everything for everyone. You only need to be faithful to what God asks of you. In that place of divine order, your life becomes a vessel of balance and power. You will help those who are ready, guide those who are humble, uplift those who are sincere. And for the rest, you will trust God to handle what your hands cannot. That is true wisdom. That is true strength. That is divine peace, the kind of peace that cannot be taken, only protected. And in that peace, you will finally see that helping everyone was never your purpose. Walking in obedience to God's direction was always your true calling.